All right, so like imagine showing up for your PhD history exam, right? You've crammed all the textbooks, you're feeling super confident, and you totally flunk it. It turns out that that's basically what's happening with some of today's like most advanced AI. And you wanted to understand how AI handles history, and I have to say, the stuff we found diving into this new research is like wild. We've got the actual research paper that was just presented at NeurIAPS, that like crazy competitive AI conference, plus the data set they used to test these AI historians, and some spicy commentary from TechCrunch.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
That's
We
true.
keep hearing about AI mastering everything,
Yeah.
but when you put it in front of a history test, let's just say some of these models need to go back to high school.
For real, even the big names, GPT-4, Llama Gemini, they were put through their paces with this new benchmark called HiST-LLM, and it's designed to really test expert-level history knowledge. And let me tell you, the results were not what I expected.
The TechCrunch article sums it up perfectly. AI isn't very good at history new paper finds. Ouch. And they've got some pretty hilarious examples of AI flubs, like GPT-4 Turbo confidently claiming that scale armor was a thing in ancient Egypt 1,500 years too early. I mean, come on.
Yeah, talk about a historical fashion faux pas. So what's the deal? Why is history tripping up these AI models so badly? It's not like there's a shortage of information out there.
Right, but it's not just the amount of data, it's the type. Historical data is messy. It's scattered full of conflicting accounts, and sometimes just plain missing. Kind of like our own notes sometimes, right?
Totally. Like there are entire online encyclopedias dedicated to ancient Rome, but good luck finding the same level of detail on, say, the history of smaller societies.
Exactly. And one of the researchers, Maria Del Rio Chanona, she points out that AI has a tendency to latch onto the most common or easily available information. So if something's obscure or there's not much written about it, AI struggles. It's almost like it's afraid to admit, hey, I don't actually know about this.
So it's not just finding the information, it's sifting through it all and figuring out what's reliable, what's important, and what's just plain wrong. Which, let's be honest, is tough even for us humans sometimes.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there's the question of what these AI models are actually being trained on. This is where the Seshat Global History Databank comes in.
Okay, so this data set is huge. We're talking 36,000 data points covering 600 societies from the Stone Age all the way to the Industrial Revolution. And it's not just random trivia either.
Every single data point in Seshat was reviewed by actual history experts. We're talking a level of rigor you just don't see in most AI training data sets.
Right. It's not Wikipedia. It's like the ultimate history textbook,
Yeah.
meticulously compiled and cross-checked by the best in the field. And here's the really cool part.
It's intentionally global, a lot of historical research, and therefore the data it produces has a very Western-centric bias. Seshat flips that script, giving us and the AI a much more balanced and diverse textbook to work with.
All right, so we've got this super rigorous, globally minded history textbook in Seshat. We've got our AI students all prepped and ready to go. What happens when we give them the test? What's the curve looking like?
Well, buckle up, because this is where things get really interesting. One of the biggest surprises is that the AI models actually did better on questions about earlier historical periods.
Wait, really? That seems counterintuitive. You'd think with all the information we have about like recent events, AI would have an easier time with modern history.
Right. But the data shows a clear pattern. The further back in time you go, the higher the accuracy scores. It's almost as if AI is better at ancient history than modern history.
So is this saying like our understanding of the past is somehow cleaner than the present? Like less information equals less confusion.
That's a really interesting thought, isn't it? The researchers suggest that the sheer volume of information about recent events might actually be a hindrance. It's like trying to see the forest for the trees.
Makes sense. Too much noise. Too many conflicting accounts. Too many perspectives. It's overwhelming even for us. Maybe AI needs that historical distance to make sense of things.
And remember how we were talking about how AI tends to latch onto the most prevalent information? Well, in earlier historical periods, those dominant narratives might be more clearly defined. Fewer sources, less debate, less room for interpretation.
Okay, that's starting to click for me. But what about the regional differences we saw? The AIs aced the Americas, but struggled with Oceania and Sub-Saharan Africa. Is that just a case of like missing textbooks in the training data?
Well, it's definitely part of the puzzle. Remember GPT-4 Turbo, the top performer, showed a consistent pattern of doing well in regions like North America, Europe, and East Asia. But when it came to Oceania or Sub-Saharan Africa, not so much. It's as if its mental map of those regions is just blurry.
Kind of like when you try to remember what you had for lunch yesterday, right? Some details are sharp, others are fuzzy, and some are completely gone.
Exactly. And what's even more fascinating is that these biases show up, even when we break things down by specific categories of historical knowledge.
Okay, like what? Hit me with an example.
For example, GPT-4 Turbo aced questions about social complexity in North America. But when faced with similar questions about social complexity in Sub-Saharan Africa, its performance tanked.
So it's not just a geographic blind spot, it's like a content blind spot too. That's wild.
It really highlights the importance of training these AI models on a truly diverse and representative sample of historical data. Otherwise, we risk perpetuating existing biases and gaps in our understanding of the past.
It's like giving the AI a really detailed map of certain parts of the world,
Wow.
and then expecting it to navigate flawlessly in areas where it only has a rough sketch.
Precisely. And that brings up a really important question. How do we even begin to ensure that AI is getting a balanced and accurate education in history?
Yeah, that's a big one. It's not like we can just cram more data into these models and expect everything to magically work out.
Right. It's not just about quantity. It's about quality diversity and making sure that the data itself is accurate and unbiased,
Yeah.
which is no easy feat.
Speaking of challenges, I know we've been focusing on the AI struggles, but the researchers also see some real potential for AI to actually help historians. I'd love to hear more about that. What kind of assistant role could AI play?
Well, imagine having an AI research assistant that can sift through mountains of historical documents in multiple languages. I mean, there are archives filled with handwritten texts, crumbling scrolls, and inscriptions on ancient monuments. It would take human historians lifetimes to process all of that information.
Yeah, and who knows what kind of incredible discoveries are buried in all that data.
Exactly. AI could help us unlock those hidden gems, freeing up human historians to focus on the analysis, interpretation, and storytelling.
It's like having a super-powered research librarian who can find the most obscure references in seconds.
And not just find them, but also analyze them, draw connections between different sources,
Yeah.
and maybe even highlight patterns and trends that human historians might have missed.
Okay, so now I'm really seeing the potential here. It's not about replacing historians, it's about giving them superpowers.
Exactly. Think of AI as a tool that can augment human intelligence and creativity, not a replacement for it.
So we've talked about the AI, the challenges, the possibilities, but let's circle back to Seshat for a second. I'm curious, how do they actually go about building this massive global data set? It seems like a monumental undertaking.
It was. They started by assembling a team of experts from all sorts of fields, history, archaeology, anthropology, you name it. This dream team created what they call a code book, a detailed framework for categorizing and analyzing historical data.
So it's like creating a universal language for talking about history.
Exactly. This code book allows researchers to compare apples to apples, even when those apples are societies separated by vast distances in time and space.
That's so crucial when you're dealing with such a wide range of historical information, but where did they actually get all that data?
They comb through everything: scholarly articles, archaeological reports, ethnographic studies, you name it. Anything that could shed light on the history of human societies. They wanted it.
Wow, that's a lot of reading. How did they even keep it all straight?
To make sure everything was accurate and unbiased. They had multiple experts review each and every entry. They wanted to make sure it wasn't just one person's interpretation of history, but a truly balanced and objective account.
And all this with a global focus, right? Making sure they weren't just focusing on the usual suspects.
Absolutely. They went to great lengths to ensure that Seshat represented the full diversity of human history, not just the parts that have traditionally gotten the most attention.
It's amazing to think about the sheer amount of work that went into creating this data set. It's like a gift to the world of historical research.
It really is. It's a testament to the power of collaboration, meticulous research, and a deep commitment to understanding our shared past.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from AI's history fails to the incredible effort behind Seshat. But before we wrap things up, I'd love to get your take on the big picture. What does all this mean for the future of AI and history?
Well, I think it's clear that AI still has a lot to learn. It's early days, and we need to be realistic about what AI can and can't do.
So no robot historians taking over our jobs just yet?
Not quite, but that doesn't mean we should dismiss the potential entirely.
Right, it's all about finding the right balance.
Exactly. We need to be thoughtful about how we use AI, recognizing both its limitations and its incredible potential.
Okay, so how do we do that? What are the next steps?
I think the key is to focus on collaboration between AI researchers and historians. We need to bring together the best of both worlds to ensure that AI is being developed and used in a way that truly advances our understanding of history.
More diverse training data, more attention to those regional biases, and definitely more historians in the room when we're building these AI systems. It's like you wouldn't ask an AI to write a symphony without a composer's input, right?
Exactly. History is complex, nuanced, full of interpretation and debate. We need that human element to guide the AI to ask the right questions and to make sure we're not just replicating the same old biases in a shiny new package.
It's almost like AI could be this amazing tool for uncovering hidden connections in history, sparking new research questions that we humans might never have thought of on our own.
Think of it this way. What if AI could flag unexpected correlations in historical data, things that wouldn't necessarily jump out to a human researcher? Maybe a sudden spike in trade of a certain commodity right before a major political upheaval. Or a subtle shift in language patterns that hints at social change brewing beneath the surface.
That's the kind of aha moment I live for. It's like AI could be our research partner, pushing us to see history in new ways, to question our assumptions, and to dig deeper into those mysteries that have been puzzling historians for centuries.
Exactly. It's not about replacing the human element, it's about amplifying it, using AI to enhance our own abilities and to open up new avenues of inquiry.
So, what's the takeaway for our listener who's been patiently following us down this rabbit hole of AI and history?
I think the key message is that AI is still very much a student when it comes to history. It has a lot of potential, but it also has a lot to learn. We need to be cautious about overhyping its capabilities, but we should also be excited about the possibilities.
It's like we're witnessing the birth of a new field, this fascinating intersection of technology and history. And who knows what incredible discoveries await us as AI becomes a more sophisticated student of the past.
I completely agree. And for all of you listening, the next time you're reading a history book or watching a documentary, think about the role AI might play in shaping our understanding of the past. What biases might be lurking in the algorithms? What hidden connections might AI help us uncover? And most importantly, what questions do you want to ask of the past questions that AI might help us answer?
Lots to ponder there. This has been an amazing deep dive. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
And to all you listeners out there, keep those brains buzzing, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.